It's no secret that Lele Pons' content is absolute trash, but up until this point I've stayed away from her channel as it's like shooting a whale in a barrel. No matter how many harpoons are fired into the back of the beast, and there's been a lot, the content lives on. But now she's made a documentary which has been released today, and as a fan of the documentary format I thought I'd give my cynical opinion. However, just as a warm-up to get me at a sufficient anger level, I'm going to rip into her latest sketch at the time of writing this, just to prove it doesn't take much of a search to find the lazily written, awfully acted, poorly shot, sloppily edited and most important of all, unfunny content on her channel. Bad Robbers is a comedy sketch and it's abysmal. We start with Lele and Hannah Stocking throwing popcorn at each other's face because it's ladies' night, when all of a sudden there's a noise that even if I was using my brain, I'd have no idea what it was.
Wait, is that a door?
Oh, thank you. I didn't realise that distinct sound was a doorbell. But who the hell will be coming to the door at this time of night?
It's the pizza guy.
Who?
The pizza guy.
The what?
The pizza.
Oh, the pizza guy. This is when the action goes down, as it's not actually a man with a big bit of pepperoni on a pizza, but actually two robbers.
Where's your mask then? Yeah, where's the mask?
I think it's acceptable to have an idiot thief in a video, after all there are idiot thieves out there. But how lazy is, oops, I forgot my mask, and the other thief didn't even notice until now. If I forgot my mask, then I'd improvise and try to make one. Luckily I've left my wallet in the car, which happens to have something inside it. It's not wholly original, but at least it's an attempt at a joke.
Where's your real gun?
This is because of YouTube. We don't want to get demonetized.
Ha ha ha! Money is more important than the quality of my work, and I'm gonna rub it in the audience's face. Also, if you have to throw your arms in a random dance move to make your dialogue funny, then it probably isn't a joke. If I delivered every line like this, you wouldn't call me a comedic genius, and I'd be exhausted. We get some stock gunshots that'll be suited for an Instagram comedy video and some more clever writing.
We're gonna take everything.
Everything from you! Your precious gems, jewelry, money!
This is where you really notice the voice he's putting on, as it's aggressively annoying. It's like an American version of a British old-timey voice. Yeah, see, is it funny when I talk like this? You probably also noticed the loudest audio pop ever to be heard on a piece of published media.
We're gonna take everything.
Everything from you!
Which is insultingly easy to fix. I did it in less than a minute and I don't even have the original audio files to work with. An audio pop doesn't last long, so you just cut it out. 16 million subscribers and you can't even be bothered to do that. To make matters worse, less than 5 seconds later we get this weird looking hard cut. You might not know what's wrong with it, but you can still see it looks a bit off. For some reason the editor left in this frame where they did a zoom, which again is the easiest thing to fix. I don't even need to say what I'm doing here. It turns out the problem is worse than I thought. I got rid of the pop, but the audio files sound absolutely dreadful that I don't have the skill to fix it.
Take everything.
Everything!
Take everything.
Everything!
I'm pretty sure this all happened because the audio peaked, and the best way around that is to do another take. But get it right, you idiots. I feel like bored is the only convincing emotion they have, as they don't even need to act. Then on the other end of the spectrum we have some overacting. It was a pillow. They talk some more, but there's so little substance to it that it no longer sounds like words.
Robbing is a lifestyle.
Yeah.
It just shows how lazy they are, as they couldn't be bothered to do a second take, or the script said,
What are you, stomp the yard out here?
they're not even in a yard. Just say stomp. They put duct tape on their mouth and pull out a rope that has clearly just come out of the packaging so they can just hold it, pretending to be tied up. The robbers question them about all the money, the moolah, the jewels, the green, the pirate booty. You get the point, lots of words for money. But obviously they can't talk because 10 seconds ago they taped their mouths. They tell them about a safe but don't know the code, as they're actually robbing the place as well.
So you know my friend Jamal?
Ignoring the fact he's completely lost his accent, why would they know your friend? Just because they're criminals doesn't mean they all hang out with each other. Except they do know who he is. But why? I'm not asking why the characters would know him, but why would this be a part of the script? It doesn't add to the story and can be replaced with anything. So you have sex with pigs? Hell yeah! Except that does actually add to their character, as you can surmise a lot more about someone who shags animals than a person who knows somebody else. And then turns out they know this guy, but I guess he didn't recognise them this whole time.
I've been trying these new things because YouTube ain't working out.
I know!
Right?
Views are down.
Views are down.
Well, isn't that subtle? They almost seem shocked people aren't enjoying this shit. But it's so depressing that this is the amount of views they get in a low period. The story goes on and the owner of the house walks in.
Wait a minute, doesn't he like look like
Me.
Really, Lele? I had no idea this very distinct black man looks like the only other black man in this sketch. Just because your audience are kids doesn't mean you need to treat them like morons.
Derek, my dumb evil twin.
You keep appearing in Lele Pons sketches. Don't you know what videos suck? They have the production value of a cheap porno. What was that? I don't even know what that is. But I do know it's the mistake of a lazy person who doesn't do a second take. Derek then cries and his twin calls the police, bringing this to an end at long last. It's a bad sign when a comedy sketch makes you sad and angry at the same time. She has this massive platform and loads of people behind her, and this is what she posts. I could write a better story bashing me penis against a keyboard. An evil twin? That ain't funny. Well, look who it is. My evil twin who critiques the works of people with a mental illness. And has a smaller penis than me. Fuck off. There's a saying that art imitates life, and although I find it awfully insulting to call this art, the evil twin certainly imitates Lele's life. The new documentary is about her struggle with OCD and the side of her that we don't get to see. But this came as a bit of a surprise since there's so much juicy shit to talk about with her. There's not just her poor attempts at humour, but there's countless stories about how awful of a person she is. I'm not going to bother going into the controversies in much detail as there's enough videos out there doing exactly that. But general consensus is she's a narcissistic, money-hungry, backstabbing thought. Since I'm only working with the trailer, I have limited information, but the whole purpose of the trailer is to give you an idea of what it's all about. And so it looks like a lot of people bum-licking her for overcoming OCD.
You can't really create cultural impact without being a little bit off-center. That space off-center is where you find the good ones.
I'm quite intrigued by this as I never thought it was a massive problem since over 2% of the population apparently has it. But according to the doctor in the trailer it was very severe, and so I decided to watch this video from Vice to see how a non-famous person deals with it. This girl once took 4 hours to brush her hair because it just didn't look right, but Lele Pons posted this video in which nothing looked right and it was a pile of horseshit.
I just have to do it 4 more times.
Don't think she ever said that during the making of Bad Robbers. Maybe she has a more physical form, as she mentioned she has Tourette's, which we all know from South Park is quite a noticeable thing.
We aren't faking, young man. Trust me. Nobody wants this illness. Ass piss! Piss!
She's made a few live appearances with no obvious outbursts, and I haven't come across anything mentioning her OCD. Now, I'm no expert in this specific mental illness, but whoever made this trailer isn't very good at portraying it in a serious way.
I just had to touch everything, and if I didn't touch everything, like, I thought my family was gonna die.
That sounds fairly unpleasant if it's true, but when you follow it with this shot of her fucking around in the shower, I completely lose any sympathy I might have had, because it looks stupid.
My family was going to die.
You can't simultaneously say this illness is crippling while not taking it seriously. That's why I'm suspicious about this documentary, and the first 10 seconds of the trailer reveals what this is actually about.
People think that I have the perfect life, but no, I don't have a perfect life.
They're playing the sympathy card without being creative, as that's the most cliched line about celebrities. You think my life is perfect, but actually I hate myself like the rest of you peasants. I'm not saying she doesn't have OCD, but I doubt it's as severe as they say, and she definitely has the motive for exaggerating the mental illness, as they outright say in their terrible sketch. You see, she comes off as a speaks her mind, not caring if it hurts anyone sort of person, as evident from these 2 clips.
I went up to Lele, do you want to come to Cheesecake Factory with us? She looks at me and she's like, well, you're the famous one, so you decide.
So, Runner of the Year after me.
But only when it comes to a narcissistic view on herself, as this is a reference to her not getting the amount of views she deserves. This is when someone is doing better than her in amount of followers, and this is when someone else received an award that she believes should go to her. She's like Patrick Bateman in American Psycho, so fixated on these little things that mean nothing. Now let's delve a little deeper into her mind to get a better picture of who she really is. One story that often comes up is the drama between her and Amanda Cerny, who was one of her best friends and fellow creator. To make a long story short, Lele was deleting her videos, lied about it not being her, then when she eventually confessed, lied to her fans and switched the characters around in her story. It's hardly chopping people up with a fire axe, but it's still some shady behaviour. Another one that comes to mind is she posted this picture saying she donated her hair, but people were very quick to say, bitch, those are extensions. These are both stories of how she lies to get ahead of others, and this is an important thing to note when you make a supposedly truthful documentary. If I told you I never hit an elderly person, but there were multiple videos of me kicking pensioners downstairs, would you then believe me if I suddenly said I have Tourette's, which makes me uncontrollably kick old people? Of course you wouldn't, and that's the problem with a story from a known liar, who after all has endorsed a documentary. Knowing what we already know about her, it's unlikely that she'll show herself in a bad way, or shall I say a truthful way. A problem I've found with lots of documentaries now is that they are becoming too much like a TV show or a film in the way that they have a protagonist. The reason this is an issue is because some things get left out for the sake of drama, and so it becomes less factual and veers towards fiction. The one that most annoyed me was Making a Murderer, as by the end of season 1 I thought Stephen Avery was wrongly imprisoned. However, looking into it a little, there was a few things that were left out. For example, Avery's blood was found in 6 places in the victim's car. The intent of the show was to say he could have been framed, but when there is so fucking much evidence against him, it becomes extremely unlikely. Let's say I was framed for kicking an old lady down some stairs. It's possible, but if there were also 10 other videos of me doing the exact same with different camera angles and lighting conditions, it starts to become a lot less plausible. This information made me more skeptical when I watched Tiger King, as again they have a protagonist. Joe Exotic comes across as quite likeable, even though he's a trashy meth-using polyamorous lunatic. But they left out all of the racial comments, since racists don't tend to be hailed as the good guys. There's also some rumours about bestiality, which I think isn't too surprising looking at him, but it's another thing that I think would have been an interesting thing to address, though they can't, as this would negatively affect what people think about him. Then there's Carol Baskin, who the entire internet seems to think killed her husband, whacked him, and can't convince him it didn't happen. happen. The show heavily implies she done it, getting multiple testimonies from people that knew her, but they all have biased opinions, and since you just have to assume what documentaries are telling you are true, most audiences don't question it. Would Tiger King have done as well if it wasn't set up in this protagonist format? Probably not, but it would have made for a better character study in my opinion, since these are some of the strangest real life characters in a fucking weird scenario. There are loads of stories out there in the world, and documentaries are interesting ways to show them, as it allows normal people like me to see these creepy hillbilly tiger fuckers. Something I watched recently was Bruce Lee and the Outlaw, which follows the story of a homeless Romanian kid who is adopted by the street king Bruce Lee. It details the struggles that him and his friends face, which is mostly drug abuse, and we get introduced to all these interesting characters along the way. It tells me a fascinating story in a format that keeps me invested. Which brings me back to The Secret Life of Lele Pons. It just seems like another one of the follow a busy celebrity around where they cry because they aren't as happy as they pretend to be, which is boring. It's sad to say, but she just isn't that interesting unless she's doing something shitty to people. It's like, would anyone have cared about Jeffrey Dahmer if he didn't kill and eat people? There's lots of videos on this site detailing her shitty antics, but none about her doing good things. That could be because she's never done anything good in her life, or the more likely reason is because that doesn't get views. It's much funnier ripping into people with bad content than it is praising someone for doing good work, which is a very weird thing about humans. We're drawn to the bad things, just like when we see a car crash or a homeless person masturbating. We can't help but look. It all occurred to me when I was watching quite a recent documentary about global warming. To sum up Planet of the Humans, we're being lied to about renewable resources and the planet is fucked. I knew that would be the conclusion from the start, but I watched anyway and it left me feeling a bit down. But I still learned something from it, which I doubt I'll get from this documentary. It showed me we're all screwed because of this life of luxury we all live, and renewable resources could save us if we're willing to change the amount of electricity we use. Which puts all of this into perspective, as one documentary shows the hard truth while the other displays someone with so many opportunities to be happy, but they're so greedy they can't leave the spotlight. We're supposed to feel bad for this person who hates what they're doing, but unlike everybody with a normal job, can afford to stop and still live a prosperous life. Though the ultimate point I want to get across is what the fuck is wrong with us, that someone documenting their unhappy life is a luxury. We know the planet is being sucked dry and we're all okay as long as we get our next episode of Entitled Latina Cries About Social Media. I'm guilty of this too, as I spend most of my days on the computer writing and editing a video centered around a pile of shit, which is why I'm going to bring up a hypothetical situation. Imagine if we're only able to use electricity for our computers, phones and TVs if we create it ourselves by riding an exercise bike. If 1 minute of riding equals 1 minute of watching, would you still be doing what you're doing? I still be making videos because I enjoy doing this and it feels great when I get to the end of a project. But would Lele still be making things like Bad Robbers? Probably, if she could pay people to do the cycling for her. However, I doubt her fans would stick around if they had to do minor exercise.
Because this content sucks. Now if you'll excuse me, I have important business to get to. Hey Nan! I want to show you something upstairs!